I was a novice in our order, and that was 30 years ago in California. There was a pizzeria we would go to, Arnoldi's, and Mr. Arnoldi was from the old country and then taught the children and the grandchildren the trade. And back then, it was not fashionable to pay with credit cards and debit cards, so he had a sign on the old-fashioned cash register that said, "In God we trust, everybody else pays cash." And today we got wonderful signs of, "In God we trust." Who else are we going to trust in? The responsorial psalm puts the accent mark on that, on Stephen's martyrdom. In reflecting on this passage of the Acts of the Apostles, on Stephen's story, beginning yesterday, where the last verse had said that in the midst of the persecution, his face was shining like that of an angel. That was the last verse yesterday. His face was like an angel. And even today, he is in firm control, facing not just hate and anger, hostility, but death. All I could think of was, this person definitely did something that we priests swear we're going to do on ordination day, but at times fall short. Conform your life to that of Christ. Because you look at Stephen, what do all of his words remind you of? It reminded me loud and clear the last 2 days. The words of Jesus in his bitter agony, facing death, but facing it with courage, with faith, with trust. And Stephen does, and Stephen goes even further, invoking forgiveness for those who have killed him. One of whom, as we heard at the end there, Saul, who would be Paul. And boy, would God have plans for him. Meaning, God's reach has no limits. That even someone who is in the great dark hole can be rescued. And the scriptures, our proud church history, tell us over and over again that we can be rescued if we are open to it, if we are open to believing. And Jesus today clarifies something very well. Moses didn't give you the bread. I didn't give you the bread. God did. Because Moses pleaded for the people who were starving to death and ready to stone him and Aaron and the other leaders of the Israelite community. But God provided. And here, this is the third installment of the Bread of Life discourses from John chapter 6. And every time these come up, I pray for our church, for everyone who is present at Mass listening to these words, because John chapter 6 reminds us of who, not what, but who and why we are receiving. Right there it is. It's Jesus himself. Nothing else, no one else. It is Jesus. And just think for a moment what profound love that is that Jesus has for us. That in spite of the fact that we are prone to falling into sin, and Jesus still desires to dwell inside of us anyway. Body and blood, soul and divinity. Because that body and blood, soul and divinity is going to transform us from the inside out, from the core of our bones to the surface of our skin. We put on Christ, we will be different. We will think differently, act differently. We will have that faith and courage of Stephen. And we will believe that no matter what happens, Christ, who has come into me, will not forget me and leave me behind. It's our responsibility, our duty, to always remember that great love that is contained in the Eucharist. No other source, no matter how tasty the commercials may say they are, is going to take away the hunger or the thirst, like the body and blood, soul, and divinity of Christ. May we never, ever hunger or thirst again.